Let me go ahead and start the online live real quick here. I think I've got my technology going. Welcome. Let's see. Okay, and the event is now being recorded. I'm Dr. Tiffany. Welcome to Nervous System Rewiring and Healing. I have so much to tell you today. So I'm going to try to get going. This is definitely a workshopping event. So get your pen and paper ready for me, please. Okay, Danica, you're on. You can always turn on your camera and audio if you would like to, Danica. Danica is my assistant. She's showing up as a second presenter here. And then if you would like your camera turned on, we can do that. So this environment that we're in, Click Meeting, is not like a Zoom meeting. You can stay completely hidden the whole time and it's completely fine. There are no little icons where you're going to show up. But if you would like to come on screen, we can turn your video on for you. So just let us know in the chat that you'd like to do that, that you'd like to be part of the presentation. Okay. So Danica, is everything coming through okay? Is my audio and video okay? Just let me know. You're typing, so that probably means we're in business. And welcome on Facebook. This is the nervous system, good deal, nervous system rewiring and healing workshop. You will not be able to see my presentation, but if you online decide you are interested later on, maybe you can't stay on, or even you can make it through the whole thing, but you would like to actually see what I was presenting, please just shoot an email to adminteam@docbrownbush. Okay, so we'll get started. We have a few more people signed up, so there may be more people hopping on, but I definitely want to get us moving along here. So I think you know who I am. I will not stay too long on that. Let me tell you what we are doing here. So what I do, how do I show up in the world at this point in my life? I'm an integrative practitioner. I am in the Lake Norman area. That is where my practice is based. I'm actually relocating the practice. We're moving to a location off of Catawba that is called the Blake House. So in the next 2 weeks, actually, the practice will be in the same Lake Norman area, but just down a little bit further on Catawba in a little bit larger space. So I'm excited about that, having more room to play and do a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today. My credentials are listed on my website. We won't spend a lot of time on that. I like to learn as a summary of what all of this is about. Okay. What are my specialties? I started out, I did all my training in eating disorders. So it's interesting how my career has shifted. I spent a lot of time earlier in my career on eating disorders, obesity, weight management, and what you probably know if you struggled with weight, if you struggled with your relationship with food, is it's really not about that. Okay, so after beating my head against the wall for a long time, I realized that my clients were struggling with eating disorders and struggling with body issues, food issues, all the things because of other stuff. And so I developed the three leg stool of healing, which is mind and body and brain. And today we're getting into kind of that brain part, that neurological piece of things, partly out of a desperation to better serve the people I was taking care of. And then ultimately, as I talk about next on the next slide, my own journey of trying to save my own health. So I got into a lot of these things, trying to help my practice, but also trying to help the people that had hired me to take care of them. And so I got away from eating disorders. I do have eating disorder clients still. I treat bulimia and I treat anorexia. But if we were to ask Danica, who is here, what the majority of the people in my practice see me for, it is absolutely going to be ADHD, anxiety, brain health issues. So brain health coaching. We by far have way more individuals in the practice who were like seeing me for memory issues, focus issues, dysregulated emotions that are related to some sort of nervous system dysregulation, autoimmunity. And I just found myself being positioned in such a way where, I think it's the path that God has me on and the things that I've gone through, positioned in such a way where I was one of the few people they would find who could help with this. And so here we are. This is where I am talking about this, though I spent years learning how to treat eating disorders, and eating disorders are very easy for me to treat now. And this is the work that is so much harder in the practice. And so I am a QNRT specialist, which is a one-to-one treatment intervention for nervous system rewiring that I won't get into today. Emotional freedom technique we'll get into, safe and sound protocol we are going to get into, somatic therapy we'll touch on, and I love working with all the things I just mentioned, traumatized nervous systems, autoimmunity, because of my own personal journey, I think, Lyme illness and mycotoxin illness because of my own journey, and Alzheimer's because I just love helping people save their brain. So that's who I am. That's where I am. And that's roughly how I got here. If you have interest in any of the other things kind of listed here, just send us an email. Okay. I won't spend our time going over all that. Briefly, my history, very briefly, because I could spend too much time talking about it. What I went through, adverse childhood experiences. If you do not know what the ACEs study is, it's adverse childhood experiences. It's a CDC questionnaire and perspective on health. Adverse childhood experiences is from the CDC. It's a perspective on health that says if you have a certain number of adverse experiences before the age of 18, you are more likely to have health issues in the later years, 40s, 50s, 60s. So if you have a certain set of traumatic experiences, you will most likely develop high cholesterol, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, cancers, autoimmune issues, the list goes on. You will also most likely struggle with your weight. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. I started with eating disorders, and then nobody told me about adverse childhood experiences until I think I was post grad, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is way harder than I understood. So you're more likely to have an addictive relationship with food and things of that nature if you have a high ACE score. Okay, so there's small T trauma, there's big T trauma. I think we know what big T traumas are without being triggering for anybody listening. Those big T traumas are, someone attempts to harm you physically, if they try to take away your freedoms, things of that nature, being neglected, those types of things, right? But also what fits in there is having a parent incarcerated, having parents that are divorced, seeing one parent be physically intimidating to another parent, like all this stuff dysregulates your nervous system. And if you do not fix it, it dysregulates it for the rest of your life. Okay. Isn't that something? I think that's really important. I think we should all know that. So now you know, and you should tell a friend. Okay. So it will dysregulate you forever. Especially if you don't have great resilient strategies in place, right? And so, lucky for me, I had some great resilient strategies in place, but I didn't have enough, and I didn't understand all of this. So, most people are okay and will end up with maybe like minor illnesses, I think the number is if they have like 5 or less adverse experiences. Okay. But if you're a high flyer, I always tease, I'm going to start a club. If you're one of us that has like a 7 to 10, if you have 7 to 10 adverse childhood experiences, and I'm an 8, you're more likely to develop health problems later on. My mom was also an 8, and my mom developed breast cancer at 40 years old. So part of how I ended up so absolutely obsessed with wellness and exercise and nutrition was because cancer shows up in my family a lot. Alzheimer's shows up in my family. I saw it at a young age that this was a real problem, and seeing my mom struggle with cancer, I recognized at that early age, and then my grandfather having throat cancer at a young age as well. I realized that I needed to take care. I did not know that my nervous system, based off the CDC, and these are studies from the 1990s, okay? This isn't like newfangled stuff. These are things that they knew a long time ago, but that the things that I had gone through when I didn't have language to even make sense of it were going to haunt my body and my tissue and my health in my 40s. So, this whole thing that we're talking about today is a labor of love, and it is the education that so many people, so many women especially, didn't get about the impact of what went on when they were younger. And then, what in the heck do you do about it so that this doesn't cost you your health? And also, what do you do about it to stop the generational trauma? Because the problem is when you have a high ACE score, you have a struggle with ACEs, because your nervous system is dysregulated, you can pass on this experience of dysregulation to your children. And I've had clients who say, I gave my kids the best life, and they have. They had none of what I had, and they're right. But their kids are showing up in life the same way that they did, with this obvious dysregulation and high level of anxiety, and it's because their nervous system never healed. And so I tell my moms, whatever you have as a nervous system, if you don't have a healed nervous system, your children will now have that unhealed nervous system. So we don't want to continue to pass this on. So, resolving what has gone on in your nervous system and making peace with it and healing it actually changes the way the genes for your child will express. So, the epigenetics actually will change. It will change. So, I want you to just kind of keep that in mind. And it is never too late to heal. But if you have had children and you're like, boy, I've got a high ACE score, or somebody had a high something went wrong here, and what do I do? If you've already had children, you need to teach them some of the things you're going to learn today. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. High ACE score, had infections, like Epstein-Barr and Lyme disease, things like that, toxins, environmental toxins, all kinds of emotional navigation of struggles that I had to do. Executive function, fogginess, and fatigue. That was what I went through while trying to appear completely normal. And I had to do a lot of healing in the past, and I still have to do a lot of healing now. So what do? I help you get your brain back. I help you get your nervous system back on track. I'll talk more about how I do that later on. Let's get more into what you're going to learn today. So on that piece of paper with that pen, I want you to kind of think about where you are. What made you come to this workshop today? So you don't forget, because I'm going to bombard you with a lot of information over this next 45 minutes. You are going to learn what in the heck I'm even talking about. You're going to map your own nervous system, which I think is very exciting. So where are you at? Ventral vagal, which is parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Are you in sympathetic, which is a place I decide I like to party at all the time? That's hyper aroused. That's sympathetic. That is not resting, and that is not digesting. And that is coming from that high ACE score of having to be on guard when I was younger. So I always ended up, I had strep all the time. I had all that stuff going on in my family, my household, all kinds of craziness. So I was hyper aroused. I needed to be on guard, and I needed to be overly competent. So I tend to meet type A. I attract women organically, not people who are referred to me, but people who find me energetically are typically very type A, kind of overachievers, doing the most, don't accept help well, running themselves into the ground, and having sleep issues, digestive problems, all the things. That's my sympathetic hyper aroused. My dorsal vagal is going to be hypo aroused. That's going to be kind of like turned off. So, what we will say in psychological terms is a hyperaroused nervous system is going to be that nervous system that's anxious, and then hypo will be depressed. But I think it's an oversimplification, and I think people miss the point. So, I like to talk about this from a nervous system perspective. So, you're going to learn how to map your system. This is the basic way, and then I'm going to push you into a more complicated way. You're going to identify the steps you take to rewire, and then just how does this hang into that healing? And let me just say now, let me answer this question. You can take all the supplements in the world, you can take all the medications, you can exercise, and you can be on an amazing diet. And if you do not address this part of the healing process, and this falls under the neurological leg of the healing process, you will find that your health keeps destabilizing. Your health keeps destabilizing. Your emotions continue to be all over the place. You can't have a system in hyper arousal and heal it. There's too much cortisol. There's not any rest. There's no digestion. You're not absorbing anything. It's just a mess. And hypo aroused means that you can't get out of the starting block. Like you can't get over the starting line. You're not activating or doing anything. So I can tell you what to do, but you can't execute on it because you can't get any energy going in your system. So it is really important that you not only do the physical, take all the things and do all the things and do the psychological. Yes, talk to somebody, all those things, but you need to do the neurological. You have to make sure your nervous system is balanced. Okay. So I want you to write on your piece of paper, take a moment, and I want you to think about how you feel. How do you feel? Okay. How do you feel? Just overarchingly, big picture, how do you feel? How would people say that you feel? Okay. What is the observation of other people about how you probably feel? Now let's get more complicated. How do you feel when it comes to your job? Just write a word, not a whole lot of words, just a word, a feeling word. Mad, sad, happy, excited, angry, stressed, connected, joyful. How do you feel? Okay, now purpose. When it comes to your purpose, how do you feel? And if it's a question mark, it's okay. If you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, that's okay. When it comes to your health, how do you feel? You feel happy? You feel uneasy? Pleased? How do you feel? Relationships, how do you feel? Just make a note of where you are. This is the work that people don't do, right? Just this. We're starting the mapping process. Just how do I feel? What is the emotion when it comes to money, finances, right? Some of my clients, finances feel peaceful. Finances feel abundant. Finances feel fun. Some of my clients, finances feel scarce, scary, fearful, right? Anxious, just like, let's not talk about it, like confused, foggy, right? There is an energy, there's a feeling in all these areas of our lives, and we don't talk about it. We don't even know we're supposed to be talking about it. Okay. How do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel a lack of clarity? Do you feel mental confusion plus moodiness, irritability? Do you feel overwhelmed? I said moody again. Moody shows up a lot. Do you feel forgetful and like you're leaving things? Do you feel like your brain's disconnected and tired, angry, stressed? How do you feel big picture? How do you feel in these areas of your life? Here's the struggle. Okay, so here's what people are coming to me telling me. They have low energy. They are dealing with exercise intolerance. So they'll work out. They think they're okay. And then 3 days later, they're still sore, right? So they're like, or they even don't get through it. They're so exhausted, they don't get through the workout. Um, they need 9+ hours of sleep and then they wake up unrested. Now, I'm going to say this because I don't want to lose track of this because I have a lot I'm still trying to talk about. I wear an aura ring. I have a lot of clients that have a Whoop. I posted about this. This is on social and probably in the recap, one of my emails that we send out. What I find here is that HRV, which I will talk about, and then sleep quality is super important. If your system, your nervous system isn't calibrated properly, you can sleep for 9 hours, but not get quality sleep. You can't get into REM, you're not getting into deep sleep. And as a result of that, you're not healing, you don't feel good. And a lot of this can be tracked back to the nervous system, okay? So people will tell me that they're getting plenty of sleep, but they wake up feeling really groggy and don't feel good. The exercise intolerance is a similar thing. You're not getting into repair mode. And then there's problem feelings and pain syndromes, okay? So my clients will present with fatigue, not getting rest, constant pain and soreness, and problem feelings, and not understand that they need to address this from a nervous system perspective, okay? So I wanted to just clarify, how does this present in like regular life? The pain. So how does this continue to present? Not able to be productive, can't focus, can't follow through. So my clients who have this nervous system issue are going to have executive function struggles because these are all executive function things. They're going to lose time, moments, and events. Like I can ask, what did you do yesterday? They don't know. What did you eat? I don't know. They'll kind of like be totally dissociated and lose a couple of hours of their day where they're just completely shifted out of reality. Okay. And this isn't like split personalities or something like that, just a dissociative state. Anger, overwhelm, stress, panic attacks, right? So we call this anxiety, like I said before. So this is what people will come to me with, not understanding that they need nervous system support, excuse me. Shut down, collapse, unmotivated. So we call this depressed. People will look at this as depressed and they'll be on an antidepressant and they'll do all the things and they still feel that way because they didn't work with their actual nervous system, which is shut down. They'll feel emotionally dysregulated. So their feelings are just all over the place. They'll have relationship conflicts. And then they'll have unexplained reactions and triggers. Like, I don't know why I blew up. I don't know why I got so angry. I don't know why I threw something at that person. I don't know why I cursed at that person. I don't know why I just shut down and became passive aggressive or like a possum. They don't understand what's going on, but they're showing up in strange ways, right? And then on top of that, they don't feel good. So there's like other things going on. So like with my history of developing lupus and then on top of that, I was angry and stressed out, and all the things, digestive problems. I didn't understand what was happening. I was at a training on the West Coast, and one of the most brilliant people I know in functional medicine said, "You will never heal your patients if you do not work with their nervous system." And I was somebody's patient and my own patient in that moment, and I thought, "Oh, okay. I get it. I get why I'm not getting better." Okay. So part of why I had to learn all these things is because I had the same pain that I just listed, and I didn't understand why all of the herbals and all of the things were not coming together. And I'd always been a clean eater and always exercised, but there were things that I was missing. So this is a really good explanation of what is going wrong. So think about talk therapy. You go into some wonderful therapist's office and you sit on their couch and you just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about all the things that happened to you and all the things that are happening to you, and you just talk. That's wonderful. That is called top down. 20% of the nerves go down from the brain, this thing that sat there for an hour talking, to the body. Okay. 80% of the nerves go from the body to the brain. but you talked for an hour, and then you can't figure out why you're not getting better or your child's not getting better. I get 10-year-olds in my practice, and the parents are like, they need them to have therapy. And I'm like, I'm not talking to a 10-year-old for an hour. They're going to play brain games, and they're going to do body-based stuff. And we're going to work with changing their nervous system and their brain. And then when they graduate from that, I will talk to them. But until I work with this 80%, it is pointless to sit with a child, especially, and just talk, 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 talk. Right? Because they're totally reacting to their whole environment body up. Their brain is nowhere near completed in any stretch of the imagination, right? But as adults, we're not that different. So I decided a long time ago, and I don't always share this, but I was like, man, this whole therapy thing is a racket. You could just have clients for 7 years because it takes forever to get people better. I don't want to look at the same clients for the next 7 years. It's just, I'm not going to help anybody this way. This is just going to take forever to do this. There has got to be a faster way. This 80% changed that. I can get someone with bulimia or restrictive tendencies resolved in 3 months, right? And then we phase out their treatment. And over the course of a year, they don't want to see me anymore because they're better, right? Which was unheard of when I first started. I mean, I don't say that even to like brag. I just was like, this can't be the model where people are just with someone trying to get healing for the rest of their lives. I have got to do something way more holistic. So when you're sitting in a therapy office talking, and the therapist is in their chair with their notepad or their computer, and you're on the couch crying, telling your life story, you're only getting to that small percentage of change, right? So this is going to take forever. If that therapist can integrate body up interventions, right? Like you're learning about today, if they can do vagus nerve stimulation with something like the gamma core, if they can integrate red light therapy that's specifically for emotional trauma, like the laser I use in session, if they can use polyvagal body-based interventions like I use in therapy, you finish with this therapist much faster. And what they found about trauma, like my high ACE score, is that sitting and talking about the thing that was so traumatic, it's re-traumatizing. It actually just reactivates the nerves that are coming out from the body. So these afferent nerves that go up to the brain, you reactivate the trauma, whether you feel like you are or not, of that event, and you stress the brain out again. So I tell people, you don't owe me anything. You don't have to tell me about the terrible thing that you went through, because what I care about is that you're still traumatized in the current moment. That religious trauma that you experienced, no one can talk about church around you because you think all religion is bad and you don't want to hear about it, and you get activated and traumatized. Okay. So all I care about is like what happened in the moment when somebody tried to talk to you about that, as opposed to what happened in the very beginning. We don't have to keep talking about that. We need to know what's going on in this current moment. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. I want you to kind of think about the journey you've been on, and if you've been in some situation where you were almost re-traumatized. Let me see what's going on here. I've got a spinning. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened. Let me go back. Okay. That one works. Bear with me. Okay. There we go. Okay. So what is nervous system rewiring? So think about what I said. Think about if that's been you. What is it? It's stabilizing the nervous system. It's overcoming the past traumas that hold on in the current moment, managing emotions from a different place in the body, and increasing the brain's ability to focus, remember, and respond versus react. Man, respond versus react. Make a note of that. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to respond versus react. Okay. It is, challenging, stinking thinking. It is polyvagal practices and theory. Okay. It is vagus nerve therapy. wherever I just put my vagus stem. It is it is emotional freedom technique, which we're going to do some of. It is 5 senses. It is parasympathetic breathing, which we're about to do some of. It's somatic therapy, and it's SSP, which I absolutely love. I have a 5-day SSP coming up here next month. Okay, it is not liking, so I don't know what is happening. I'm so sorry. It is not liking when I change these guys. So I don't know if there's something going on with my internet connection, but bear with me because it is loaded. Okay. All right. So it's just doing this very slowly. Okay. So let's talk about the vagus nerve. Hopefully you've heard about the vagus nerve. It is a nerve that runs from behind the ear, okay, all the way into all the organs with a lot of activity in the digestive tract. So if you've heard about vagus nerve on TikTok and on Instagram, this is what we're talking about. So you've got the vagus nerve running on both sides, okay, connects into the heart, goes down into all the organs, and it connects into the face as well. It's literally a nerve. And it is the vagal brake is a part of the vagus nerve that allows us to shift between states. I'm going to talk to you about mapping. You wrote down earlier how you were feeling. I'm going to talk to you about mapping. A strong vagal brake is more precise and is slow to transition. A strong vagal brake is more precise and slow to transition. However, when you have chronic stress, it takes a toll on the strength of the vagal brake, and we transition into a dysregulated state much more quickly. Okay, think about that for just a second. So if you spent your childhood stressed out, if things felt unsafe, if adults yelled at each other and didn't behave like adults, if sometimes there wasn't food in the house, if parents didn't have money, if people hit each other and hit you, if someone touched you in a way that was not okay, these are all the adverse childhood experiences. If people made fun of you, now these are small t traumas. If you felt like you weren't very smart because people challenged and threatened you emotionally and mentally, if you didn't feel strong attachment to a parent, trying to think of other small t traumas, you would start to have problems with your vagal brake. Okay. Right. If you grew up in a household, bigger T trauma, where you had to duck all the time and things were always flying at somebody's head, your vagal brake would not be slow to transition. That is not smart to have a slowly transitioning vagal brake. You need to transition quickly, duck, protect yourself, hide. And so you can't live like this forever. There's a point where you're just going to be dysregulated and overreacting to everything. And so my chronic digestive problems, and those are the people in my practice, often come from the fact that this vagal brake that innervates into the gut is never in rest and digest. It wasn't in parasympathetic. Okay. So symptoms of potential dysregulation, edginess, irritability, and an inability to relax, kind of hypervigilance, anxiety, or depression. Chronic stress, chronic tiredness or fatigue, so fibromyalgia, some of these other diagnoses, insomnia, not being able to go to sleep because you're so ramped up, digestive issues, like all of them. Just all the digestive issues. IBS, you need nervous system rewiring, okay? Emotional volatility, unresolved aches and pains. That's again fibromyalgia is almost always a result of this nervous system dysregulation piece. The brain just rewired in a please help me mode kind of thing. Immune issues. So a lot of my women who have autoimmune issues come in with RA, MS, lupus. They have mom issues that need to be resolved, and they normally need nervous system support. Frequent infections, brain fog, trouble concentrating. This is a really big deal, right? Really big deal. We really need to know what to do with this vagus nerve, okay? Really need to know what to do with it. Okay, so let's see if I can get it to show up. There we go. Okay, I won't go into Veronica. Veronica is just a case study. I think you can imagine now what Veronica's issues were. And as I try to get this next slide to show up, okay, good. Veronica did all the things. She had all the problems that I'm currently mentioning, and then she did all the interventions. She did the exercise, the nutrition, the supplements. She took the medication she was supposed to for the autoimmune issues. We did all the functional medicine labs. We did all the detox and all that. Veronica had a high ACE score and had to do the nervous system balancing, and we had to do safe and sound. And that's what saved Veronica's health. Okay. That was the last thing that kind of put it over the edge. For my own health journey, the same thing. Things started to really turn around. I was able to put lupus into remission when I started to work with my nervous system, and also started to understand my sleep patterns. That was a big deal. So I want you to be thinking about, if you've been in a struggle for a long time, are you doing this piece? Okay, mapping time. And I think I'm kind of on schedule, so this is good because we're going to get to play here. Okay, so I said earlier, how do you feel in these different areas of your life? Okay, so polyvagal theory is about mapping your nervous system, mapping your nervous system. Okay, so are you when it comes to work, are you in hyperarousal, high energy, anxiety, anger, overwhelm, hypervigilance, fight, flight, chaos? Are you grounded, flexible, open and curious, present, able to emotionally regulate? Are you shut down? Are you numb, withdrawn, or passive? Where are you when it comes to work? Work's an easy one. Harder one, where is it, your system, when it comes to your personal relationship? So like your romantic relationship or a lack thereof. How does that feel? Does it feel hyper aroused? Does it feel hypo aroused? Or are you in your window of tolerance? All things are possible when we are in our window of tolerance. Okay. That's where we're trying to be. We're trying to be grounded and flexible and curious about things instead of like in judgment or fear or like, I don't care. We're like present. We're regulating ourselves. We're connected to other human beings and we're just loving it. We feel safe. We don't feel threatened. We don't feel abandoned. So then ask yourself where you are when it comes to your romantic relationship. And wherever that is that okay? Is that where you want to be? Or would you like to shift state? So these are states of their nervous system. And remember, you saw a picture of the nerves. And I said all that talking you're doing in therapy, but 80% of your body and your nervous system is dealing with this stuff right here. So it's just like, oh, that's great. We're just sitting there talking. But the body is dealing with these different states at all times. So this is a bottom-up intervention. So when clients work with me, I have them map their nervous system. And in session, I'll be mapping with them. Okay, where are you right now? Your breathing has picked up. Your facial muscles have changed. Oh, great. Thank you for the question. So you're going to really like the next one that comes. If you feel like you're in all of them, is there one that you're more dominant in? And then for your benefit, you can put like a subcategory, but is there a place that you're more dominant? So we're being asked that this person is saying that they're mapping in multiple categories. And this is probably something that you're going to find as well. There's something I'm going to look at with you next that I think will help make this make sense. But for now, what's the dominant one? Okay. And I think here's what I want you to know, because I think you're asking me a question that I'm not clarifying too. Human beings are complicated. Okay. So you're not like in a box. And I think what can happen is you can toggle through, right? I'm in a relationship. I can be hyper aroused, then I can be hypo aroused, and then I can be in my window of tolerance in the same 10-minute span, right? And so, um, what you're trying to figure out is if overarchingly you're able to get back to your window of tolerance in your personal relationship, then great. But if your personal relationship you find you're hyper aroused more often than not, that's what we want to make note of. But remember that vagal break was about shifting state. So I can understand why you would say, well, I can be in multiple states. That was a really great question. Okay, so you're mapping. And where we want to be is like calm and curious and confident and conscientious. Like that's our highest self. And if you are not here, if you're not in the window of tolerance, because this is really what you came for, you have got to figure out a way to get yourself back into your window of tolerance. Or what you're learning is that your health can be impacted, your focus, your brain health can be impacted. Because if you've been stressed your whole life and you just keep kicking out all that cortisol, eventually your brain can become inflamed. Your nervous system can become inflamed. So you have to calm things down. So your brain works better and you heal better. So how? So you just mapped, and now I'm going to teach you some things, okay? All right. So I want you to think about the area of your life where you tend to be sympathetic. That's hyper aroused, sympathetic. Think about that area of your life. Think about where you notice that sympathetic in your body. Okay. So for me, when I get into sympathetic dominance, and we're on the breath category, I can notice it immediately in my shoulders and my neck. A lot of my clients tell me that they feel it in their chest. Okay, think about where you feel it, and I have females on the call today. Ladies, I find that most of the time we do not know what we're feeling or where we are feeling it. Okay, and if you have been hard driving your whole life, or if you have kind of a history like I have, but even if you don't, I find this to be common. It was weak or too vulnerable or too time consuming to have a lot of feelings. Okay, we got to get stuff done. Things need to happen, whether I have these feelings or not. And you become very disconnected. So, a lot of the work that I do in bottom up therapy with clients is, where's that at? Where do you feel that? What are you noticing in your body? What changed in your body? Oh, there's a knot in my stomach. There's butterflies in my stomach. The front of my head is hurting. The back of my head is hurting. My hands are clenching. My feet are moving. My legs feel like tight. You need to listen to your system because your system is always talking. So the first thing we do is to do parasympathetic breathing. I ask that you find what activation is happening in your body. You don't even have to name it. You can just say there's something happening in my neck, in my shoulders, in my chest, something changed. And then I'll say to the client, what is the texture of that? Well, there's a squeezing, there's a tightness, there's a heaviness. It's like, see, that's a feeling. You're doing it. We're doing things. Okay. All right. So that's the texture of it. And is it a pleasant experience or is it an unpleasant one? Well, this doesn't feel good. Okay. So do you think that's fear? Do you think that's anxiety? Do you think that's stress? And if they can label it, okay. If they can't, that's fine. Now what we do, parasympathetic breathing, is you take a deep breath in through your nose, and then I want you to exhale longer through your mouth. So we go in and we go out. We go in for 5 and out. I took a breath in for 5 and I exhaled for almost 15 counts. Now, I'm really good at parasympathetic breathing, because I've practiced. I find a lot of the clients that I work with, it's sipping air constantly. When my neck starts to hurt, my shoulders start to hurt, I've been sipping air. So parasympathetic breathing, and you can keep breathing while I talk, is a short inhalation, which is probably your normal inhalation, and a long exhalation. And you keep exhaling. And it has to be pressured through the mouth for it to be that effective parasympathetic breathing. So when I have a client who's very used to being in sympathetic dominance about her relationship, about her mom, about her money, about her body, and we're talking, I have got to show her in session. We have to rehearse. How does she regulate her system? Because just talking about it is not as helpful as we all think it is. She needs to get upset and then calm down in session with me. Okay. She needs to do that with me where it's safe and I can give her some support and love and learn how to work with the system. And that is parasympathetic breath. If you take nothing from this appointment but that, game changer. That's why it's first. That's why it's first. So the amygdala is a part of the brain that reacts to stress. It remembers all scary things. It has it's a small part deep in the brain, and it remembers all the bad things that have happened. And it has very few words, so talking to it does not help. And it is responding to all of the stuff that's in your body, and your amygdala can get hijacked. Okay. And when your amygdala gets hijacked, you start to have heart rate variability issues, right? So you have less variability in heartbeats. And a healthy vagus nerve, vagal brake, a healthy nervous system has a lot of variability. The Oura ring, the whoops, they help us monitor variability and how often you're able to get into parasympathetic, because that's more variability, versus being in sympathetic. And a lot of it has to do with that amygdala. All of this stuff connects. All of it connects. Okay. So I had a overly hijacked amygdala because of my childhood, but also because then I just made not so great emotional, personal choices because of my amygdala. But then I got sick. So then my amygdala was like, you know what? I hate life. It was just like, it's too stressful. And so my heart rate variability was very minimal, which made it hard to digest, hard to sleep, all the things. And so part of my therapy, physical therapy for my nervous system, is parasympathetic breathing. You may recognize this from swimming. So you take a short breath in and then you exhale for a while when you swim. So it can be very therapeutic to swim. Okay. So parasympathetic breathing, that is how you calm the amygdala down. The amygdala doesn't have time for all these words and all the chit chat. We either run or we fight, right? Or we freeze. What are we doing? But I don't need to have a long conversation about it. I just need to get going. Something scary is happening. That is the amygdala. Fight, flight, freeze. Okay. So short in, long out. Okay. Now the vagus nerve. How do you activate the vagus nerve if you don't have my fancy thing that you take? And where's the vagus nerve? Take your pulse, take your 2 fingers, take your pulse, find your heartbeat. That is where you're going to get your innervation for your vagus nerve, is where that heartbeat is. And it's on both sides. I can feel it. Tracks up behind the ear, comes in here and connects down. This guy here, we turn it on and we get it going pretty high. And then we put it directly on the vagus nerve. If you have a high ACE score, I would love it if gargling and singing and gagging and going would do it for you, but I just find that we don't have that kind of time. So I need people to get like a vagus nerve stimulator. They do it when they come into my office, but at home I need vagus nerve stimulation as well, so that you're constantly activating that nerve. Okay. And I'll have people do the training for that, especially if there's fibro or autoimmune disorder on board, they'll do that activation. So what are you trying to do? I showed you the picture of the vagus nerve. I would go back, but I'm afraid I can't come back here. So I showed you how it innervates. You're trying to get that brake to activate. Okay. Or if you are in hypoarousal, like you're shut down, you're trying to get it to just do its job and wake up. Okay. And so gargling, take some water, get it into the back of your throat and gargle aggressively to fire that guy up. 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes a day. Please write that down. 2 minutes a day. Sing. I love music. I just went to a concert last night, a bunch of wonderful gospel worship music. I was just singing and singing. I love that. And it made me feel very connected. It was just like, oh, we're all in this place, just loving this music together. My ventral vagal, my connection was on, right? So we're singing and we just feel like we're just happy together and we can do anything. That's because my vagal brake was working. I was in parasympathetic. Okay. But I sing loudly every morning while also doing my cardio as a way to get myself into a very relational place because I have a relational job. You can gag. So when you take a tongue depressor and you try to make yourself gag, it activates the vagus nerve. Okay. So you can also do that. And the om that you do in yoga, that is why we do it. So you need to activate your vagus nerve. I give vagus nerve exercises as homework to people to complete on a daily basis. You need to do this on a daily basis. Okay, emotional freedom technique. Combat the sneaking thinking. So I need you to take a note. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I want you to take away, because we could work on thoughts forever. But something you need to change immediately is should. Should has been researched in mental health to be completely shaming. So when you should yourself, when you should, I can't say it, you should your spouse, you should your employee, you should your child, right? You are shaming them. Shame is one of the most toxic emotions we can experience, and nothing good comes of it. It's how you have a critic voice in your head. So should becomes wish. I really wish you'd been able to meet the deadline that we came up with. It really would have set us up for a lot more success. I wish you told me about the speeding ticket instead of keeping that to yourself out of fear that I would get mad at you. I really wish you were being honest with me instead of feeling like you have to be deceptive. I wish I hadn't let myself down in this way and met the goal that I said I was going to meet. That feels so much more grace oriented and ventral vagal parasympathetic than should. Should is going to put somebody in hyper or hypo arousal. Okay, hyper or hypo arousal. So we need to switch from should to wish. That's one thing I want you to go away from today immediately doing. Go from should to wish. And instead of, oh, okay, I think that's great that you told me that, but instead of, yes, I believe you and I want to do this differently, but I want you to shift to and. But becomes and. And these two major shifts in your language with yourself and with others will stop releasing the negative chemicals and signals in the brain that activate you into hyperarousal, so sympathetic, or dorsal, hypoarousal, which is dorsal vagal. Okay. So it'll keep your system from toggling so aggressively between those unhealthy states. Okay. So now I'm going to teach you very briefly a little emotional freedom technique. Okay. So if you've never done tapping, I want you to do tapping with me. I can always use a good tapping session myself. So you're going to tap on the outside of your hand. And if you don't like the sensation of tapping, you can hold. Okay. I'm a EFT practitioner. I'm a practitioner in almost all the things. I love certifications and trainings and learning, and it's how I save my system and my husband's system. So I am trained by an organization called ASAP, and Emotional Freedom Technique. And this is a way to work with those 80% of nerves that we talked about. So even though I feel so anxious right now, and so that's what you would say out loud or in your head, even though I feel so anxious right now, I completely love and accept myself. And if you don't completely love and accept yourself, you could say, I plan to love and accept myself. But I really would encourage you to say, I completely love and accept myself. People start crying usually when I ask them to say this. Even though I feel so overwhelmed by all of the responsibilities, I completely love and accept myself. Okay, top of the head. You're going to start to speak to all the things that we're not speaking to. So, overwhelmed by the responsibilities, frustrated with the demands. So, you're right inside of the eyebrow, outside of the eye. My system is stressed under the eye, stressed at a level 8. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at an 8, top of the lip. Really tired of people putting so much pressure on me. Under the lip. Totally overwhelmed. On the chest. Feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. Bra strap. Frustrated and overwhelmed. Now I'm going to do the express version in session. I do a more involved version, but we're just doing the express. Frustrated and overwhelmed. Both hands, both eyes. Frustrated and overwhelmed. Feeling really stressed. Tired of all the pressure. Having to do so many things on my own. No one asks me if I need help. You can go back and forth or both sides. Frustrated at a level 8. Bra strap, frustrated at a level 8. And then I'd have someone do that one more time. That is emotional freedom technique. And that is to be used if you are dealing with stress, if you have something that went on a long time ago that keeps triggering your system. I use it for all kinds of things in sessions, but that is emotional freedom technique, and it's quite evidence-based, and it's been useful in PTSD. So now, a lot of the things I've talked about are the autonomic nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is where we do things like havening. So you take your hands at the top of your shoulders and you go down. So if you feel like you're activated, really stressed out, you're going to take the hands to the shoulders and down to the elbows, and you're going to do deep breathing. Or you can do havening this way. I have a lot of young people that have sports competitions. They get really sympathetic right before, and I'll have them do havening to help calm themselves down. Okay. Now, if I have somebody who's in dorsal vagal and we need to do a peripheral nervous system activity, I'll have them do cupping, body cupping, and they'll tap themselves to try to activate their system. And they'll do that on their legs. And that drives energy into the system. So that is a PNS intervention. The breathing and the gargling are ANS interventions. And so is the emotional freedom technique. Okay. One of the things I find is really amazing is eye presses, like when you're in sympathetic. And so people will put like little weighted eye masks on. And I think it's because of the eye strain from all the computers, but I also think we process a lot with our eyes. And so by doing the eye presses, that can also calm you down. 5 senses. I'm probably going to go about 5 minutes over. So please forgive me. It took a little bit longer, per usual, than I expected to. 5 senses. What do you see? So right now I see my computer. What do you hear? I hear myself talking. I hear the sound of my headphones. What do I smell? Peppermint and my mushroom coffee. I can still smell my mushroom coffee. What do I taste? I can taste some gum. What do I feel? My office is kind of chilly. Okay. So 5 senses. A way to get grounded, a way to get in ventral vagal is to do the 5 senses. You got to get back in your body. If you've ever been in dorsal vagal or if you've been in hyperarousal, sympathetic, you know that you get out of your body. And when you're in ventral vagal, everything feels like, so when you're in parasympathetic, right? When you're in your window of tolerance, everything is just so clear. and it's just so amazing, and it just feels so good, right? That's because you're in your body and you're fully into your senses. When you're hyper aroused, you're not fully in anything, and everything feels really like intense and sparkly and just overstimulating. And when you're hypo aroused, you're nothing is pleasurable. People don't want to eat, they don't want to be intimate, they don't want to do their job, they don't want to do anything. Nothing feels good. They're not in their bodies, right? And so body cupping helps us to get back in the body. What are you noticing, right? And so I will blend all of this in a whole session. I'll do all these things in one session. And if you want to talk and tell me stories while we do all this, that is fantastic. But you need me to show you how to deal with that 80% that is happening for you. And so I want you to know that once you map, you have this whole buffet of things you can do on your own. These are free, right? These are free things. You can do all this yourself to calm down your nervous system and get into digestion and to get into healing. And I just think that's absolutely a gift. And I encourage my parents to teach their children how to do this. Now, earlier, we had this question of, I feel like I could be in all the places. I'm trained, of course, as a neurofit coach. And one of the things we look at is ventral vagal, okay, sympathetic, dorsal vagal, actually have other things that show up as well, which is this overwhelm, this stillness, and play. And so play can be a combination of being in ventral vagal, but also in sympathetic, and a place in between those could be play. Being in ventral vagal and dorsal vagal, if you combine those two, it could just be stillness. It could just be calm, quiet, and serene. But boy, if you give somebody some sympathetic and some dorsal vagal, they can end up in overwhelm, right? And so it's a different way of like looking at where you are. And then what I find is that there are certain areas that somebody will say, like with their pet, right? With my pet. I'm always in ventral vagal with my dog. I love animals. And I'm always in ventral vagal and play with my pet. That's an easy one, okay? With my business, I can find myself in sympathetic, overwhelm, and ventral vagal, right? So then that means that sometimes I feel playful, but I can also find myself here because running a business is complicated. And that's my reality. I tend to like sympathetic because that's how my system's programmed. So the harder thing in my life is here. Whereas relationship, I find I'm in a lot of play, ventral vagal, and stillness. And so I think that answers the question that was asked earlier. I thought that you might like having these options. And this is actually an app. NeuroFit is an app. And then I work as a NeuroFit coach with people who are interested in kind of using this technology, using heart rate variability, and figuring out how do they get their system balanced. Okay, great. I'm glad. Yeah, this is a more sophisticated, advanced technology that came as a result of polyvagal theory. Okay, so yeah, so that's a different map option for you. And I will be doing NeuroFit. I have a Brain Warriors Way masterclass, which is a 5-session training where I go in and I give you nutrition, exercise strategies for your system, customized supplementation. But week 5 is a bonus week, and I use the NeuroFit HRV training during that week. I'm super excited about this. This happens in November to help people next level all the things that I do with them because I personally have liked this. And then okay, lastly, if you can bear with me, I was supposed to be able to do a share screen. Let's see if I can still do share screen. All right. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing this. And then if you are not seeing this, Danica, are they seeing this full screen? Can you put that in there for me? Okay. Yes. Beautiful. Oh, okay. Did it go away or is it still full screen? Isn't that interesting? Okay. I can see it now. Okay, what is SSP? So now everything I just told you about was something you could do on your own. SSP is something I do with people after I've had them as a client for a while. Um, this gentleman here, Dr. Porges, he's absolutely brilliant. And he says, if you want to improve the world, start by making people feel safe. Isn't that amazing? And everything I told you about today is a lot of it is coming from his research. And he is not a therapist. He started working with babies who were NICU children, traumatized children, nervous systems that would be traumatized. And he recognized that they did not feel safe, partly because they were hearing the world as being so scary. And so it's a non-invasive acoustic vagus nerve stimulation. It's music that helps clients connect with themselves, others in the world from a foundation of physiological safety. It has been the most beautiful thing I have ever offered in practice. And it really, I have gone through this 3 times. I'm going to do a 4th one here. It changed my health. And it's music, and it's the client will have an SSP playlist. We do this for 5 days in a row. When the person comes in, we're doing this playlist, but we're doing all the things I just mentioned. And the way it works is you engage the ventral vagal complex through the neural network associated with listening. You shift the nervous system into safety. And then this is very special music. And we do this to somebody who is physically and psychologically available. And so it's through this music that we literally are rewiring the brain. Isn't that something? And so it's the only like really practical, simple intervention to kind of crack the code aggressively. The rest of the methods I taught you today are completely viable. They just take time. This works quickly, and the SSP allows for repatterning of neural networks, improved regulation of the ANS for long-standing change. And it just depends on what you've gone through, how many times we need to take you through an SSP. But it's based on the recruitment of the autonomic nervous system, and it trains the middle ear to tune into cues of safety signaled by human voice, which stimulates the social engagement system. It's an absolutely fascinating intervention. And look at this. The SSP interrupts chronic states of nervous system defense by stimulating neural networks associated with listening. It makes the voice of others feel safe, and it gets you out of fight, flight, freeze, gets you into ventral vagal. In adults and children can do this. It is completely studied as an evidence-based approach. And let's see if I can, sorry, I'm doing that. And they're looking at the impact of long COVID and how SSP is working with that. Okay, so let me stop sharing. I just think that's so neat. Let me come back and not close anything. And let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so that's SSP. And so once I've worked with someone for a little bit and I just feel like they're still maybe struggling, or I've got a child who's got some sort of social issues because they're neurodivergent or something's going on, I'll do a safe and sound protocol with them. Or if I've got a Lyme client, like a Lyme patient or mold patient, a lot of times their nervous system won't get out of defense unless I go in and I do something that aggressive. So that's that next level. So just as a heads up. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm totally over time. So what did you learn today? What nervous system rewiring is, how to map where your nervous system is, identifying the steps that you can take to rewire, and then understanding how this holistically fits in with my 3-leg stool of mind and body and brain. If you want to do something with me, we've got an application that Danica just dropped into the chat. I'm going to tell you how you want to work with me if this made sense to you. You would start with like the Brain Warriors Way Masterclass. It's a group program. It's the least expensive way to get started working with me. And let me see briefly if I can share the screen for that. Yes, I sure can. Let me share that real quick. We're going to be meeting November the 13th to December the 11th. And that's going to go every Monday at 3 to 4 p.m. So this is the Brain Warriors Way. If you want to go to my website, the Brain Warriors Way Masterclass, it's to address all the things that I talk about all the time. You get supplements, you get customized protocols within a group. It is not a large group. You get a Facebook group. You get all the things I do with people with the exception of functional medicine. And I'm just so looking forward to doing this. And each week there's a different focus. So week one's assessment and supplement. So you're going to take a brain health assessment, which is the game changer in my practice. If you want to learn even more about this, I have a Brain Warriors Way workshop next Friday. And that will be at like 10:30 a.m. And I'll even talk more about each week. Second week is mindset and miracle day of healing, letting go of the past. We go into nutrition and hydration. We talk through like the right diet for your particular brain type or your child's or your spouse's, the exercise and sleep hygiene. And then we're going to do nervous system work in the group together. And so the pricing is here at the bottom. Early bird registration is $875 if you do it by October the 24th. Regular registration has to be closed out by November the 6th. And if this is something you think you definitely want to do, you just can email the team, or you can fill out the application and just say in the subject line, Brain Warrior registration. They send you the invoice, they then send you the paperwork, and we just get you going. So let me come back over and open this present. I'm sure there's some way to do this. Okay, so that's the Brain Warriors Way Masterclass. That's the least expensive, comprehensive way to get going with me. A brain assessment is freaking amazing. I love doing those. They're so much fun. We learn so much. But that's like a bigger process. It usually takes me a whole month to get through with somebody. And it's a bit more costly, but no one's ever regretted a brain assessment or the natural medicine workup. Okay. And that's a 3-step process, and it's all functional medicine. Those would be the 3 ways to get started with me right now: the Brain Warriors Way Masterclass, or full-blown brain assessment, or just natural medicine. Would be the 3 ways. If you have questions, please post them. I'm going to stop talking because I can't believe I went so far over. That's my website. That's the contact. It says Denise, but it should be admin team at, oh goodness, it's admin team at docbrownbush.com. Admin team at docbrownbush.com. And then thank you, Danica. And if you just complete the application to heal, that's another way to do it as well. I think you saw me typing and then you stopped. It's okay. That's the email address. Do you have any questions for me? Anything you want to ask me? Thank you for hanging out with me as long as you did. I hope this was beneficial to you and you learned something. Same thing on Facebook. Okay. All right. So hopefully you'll reach out if you have any questions or you would like to participate in something that's coming up. I also hope to see you next Friday in the workshop. Have a wonderful Friday the 13th. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Okay.